You were never told the truth, not really. Not in church, not in school, and certainly not from the television that hummed in the corner of your living room for decades, feeding you someone else's idea of life. No one sat you down and said, "You are powerful." They told you how to behave, how to survive, how to show up on time, work hard, pay your bills, keep your head down, and hope for the best. But they never told you that within your breath, within your thoughts, within every emotion you've ever felt, there was a force that could shape reality itself. They never said your body wasn't just flesh and bone, it was an instrument. That your mind wasn't just a processor of facts, it was a transmitter. They never dared to whisper that your sadness had frequency, your rage had resonance, and your longing was a signal being cast out into the world like a lighthouse no one taught you how to steer. And so you forgot. You lived the life they handed you. You wore the roles. You buried your instincts. You mistook silence for safety. You mistook obedience for peace. But there was always a quiet ache, wasn't there? A sense that something vital was missing, even when everything looked fine on the surface. That ache wasn't depression, it was disconnection. It was your inner current trying to break through the noise. Now maybe you're in your 60s or 70s, and you think the moment to rediscover anything has passed. But I'm here to tell you, it hasn't. In fact, this might be the very first moment of true remembering. Because for the first time in a long while, no one's telling you what to do. There are no meetings to attend, no schedules to keep. You sit at your kitchen table, the coffee cooling in your hands, and you start to feel it again, that old whisper. The one that says, what if they were wrong about everything? And let's be honest, didn't most of what they teach us fall apart anyway? They told you hard work guaranteed success. And then you saw good men lose everything. They said emotions were weakness. And then you watched entire generations numb themselves into silence. They told you energy was something in power lines and batteries, but never once told you about the current flowing through your own nervous system. Or that the rhythm of your breath could regulate your entire field. Did you know that your heart produces an electromagnetic field measurable several feet outside your body? That when you feel gratitude or calm, that field becomes coherent, like a symphony in perfect pitch? Did you know that your brainwaves respond to emotion and thought, shifting in rhythm with your attention? These aren't fairy tales, they're facts. The Harmath Institute has studied this for decades. Quantum physicists have shown us the observer effect, that your attention literally alters particles at the subatomic level. But they buried these truths under jargon, behind paywalls, inside labs you'll never enter. Why? Because they feared what might happen if people like you, steady, seasoned, sharp, remembered the truth. That the universe responds not to credentials, but to coherence. Not to age, but to awareness. So here's a question no one's ever dared ask you. What if you didn't need permission to change your world? What if the regret you carry isn't because you made wrong choices, but because you were never taught to feel your own power? What if the ache in your chest isn't age or memory, but the hum of something ancient trying to wake back up? They kept you busy. Busy providing. Busy fixing. Busy surviving. But never once did they show you how to sit still and listen to the energy underneath it all. The breath that didn't just keep you alive, but could realign you. The thoughts that didn't just pass through your head, but built the shape of your life. You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. Those times when everything felt just right. When your gut told you something and it turned out to be true. When you walked into a room and knew, before anyone spoke, what was going on. That wasn't coincidence. That was frequency. That was your energy field in action. But the system trained you to ignore it. Remember school? You were told when to sit, when to speak, when to move, when to stop. The bell didn't just control your day, it conditioned your nervous system. You weren't taught how to breathe intentionally. You were taught how to conform. You weren't taught how to direct emotion. You were taught to suppress it. You weren't taught that your body was sensitive to energy. You were taught to push through pain. But now the pushing is over. The noise is quieter, and the voice beneath it, the one that was always yours, is growing louder. And it says this: you were never meant to be a spectator. You were never meant to just survive. You were designed to shape the very fabric of reality through the alignment of your own system. Not with effort, but with coherence. When you breathe in slowly through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth, your heart rate steadies, your vagus nerve calms, your brain's hemispheres begin to synchronize. This is not mysticism, it's biology. And when you pair that breath with a focused intention, something simple, Like, I am calm. Or, I am open, and then feel into that thought. Not with words, but with emotion. You create what science calls a coherent signal. You are literally transmitting a frequency that affects your field and the field around you. This is what the mystics knew. This is what Thoth tried to teach before they turned his name into myth. That the real power was never in temples or rituals, but in the conscious human being who remembers how to tune themselves. Let's bring it closer. Think about music. You don't see it, but it moves you. One note can break your heart. Another can make you dance. That's frequency. That's what your thoughts and emotions are doing all day long, whether you're aware or not. The tragedy is that most people go their whole lives broadcasting chaos without knowing it. But you can change that. Right now, you can breathe, focus, feel, align. That's the first layer of the technique. Not chanting, not crystals, not affirmations, just awareness. Just choosing to sit with yourself. Gently, quietly, until the signal becomes clear. And when it does, your life begins to respond. Not with fireworks, but with subtle shifts. A conversation that opens a door. A tension that dissolves. A memory that heals. And no one else will know. But you'll know. You'll feel it. Because for the first time, in a long time, the static is gone. And what's left is signal. Your signal. Pure. Coherent. Alive. You don't need to change the world to start. You just need to stop letting it change you. Let your breath lead. Let your body speak. Let your mind align. That's where remembering begins, not in books or belief, but in the quiet, sacred act of coming back to yourself. And if you think you're too old to begin, remember this. The ancients passed their wisdom not to the young, but to the ready. And if you've read this far, brother, you are ready. So let's say you've started listening, really listening, not to the noise of the world but to that quiet hum beneath your breath. Maybe you've begun to notice your own rhythm again. To sit still long enough for the static to settle. Long enough to hear your body say, I've been here all along. That's not the end of something. That's the beginning. Because once you begin to feel the edges of your awareness, to tune into the simple power of presence, the question becomes, now what? What do you do with this rediscovered silence? With this ancient instinct rising in your chest like something half-remembered? You start aligning. You start using what Thoth once called the true human technology. Not the external machines but the internal systems that make you a living transmitter of energy. Let me tell you this straight. You are not here to be passive. You are not here to wait and see. You are here to direct. And the second chapter in your return to power begins with the truth that thought, breath, and emotion are not random events, they are tools. Instruments. And when you learn to play them together, you become a force that bends reality without raising your voice. Most men your age were taught that power looks like control. It looks like standing tall, being respected, owning something, winning. But Thoth's kind of power is quieter. It's more subversive. It doesn't shout. It vibrates. It hums in the air around you. It shifts the room before a word is spoken. That's the power of energetic coherence. And it starts by understanding that your breath isn't just oxygen. It's a lever. Every inhale draws energy inward. Every exhale directs it. If you breathe shallow and fast, you tell your body, I'm in danger. If you breathe slow and deep, you tell it, I'm safe. I'm ready. Let's create. That alone is a revolution in a world that trains us to react, to rush, to survive. But when you slow the breath, the mind follows. When the mind follows, emotion settles. And when all three line up, something extraordinary happens. Your frequency becomes focused. Now, I know the word frequency might sound strange, but you already understand it. You've walked into rooms and felt the tension before anyone spoke. You've known when someone was lying without having a shred of evidence. You've stood beside someone you just met and felt peace. Or felt your stomach tighten for no apparent reason. That's not magic. That's resonance. That's you picking up on the invisible currents of energy that exist between every living thing. You've been doing it your whole life. You just didn't know it had a name. And more importantly, no one told you that you could influence it. That you weren't just a receiver. You were a sender too. Let's go deeper. Modern science, as reluctant as it is to admit anything ancient might be true, has started to catch up. There's a growing body of research in neuroscience, in somatic psychology, in quantum field theory, that all points to this. Your thoughts are not confined to your skull. They radiate. Your emotions are not just internal. They shape your biochemistry and your electromagnetic field. Your beliefs, especially the ones you don't speak out loud, create the lens through which you interact with the world. And here's the kicker: when all three, thought, breath, and feeling, are brought into alignment, your influence on the world around you increases exponentially. Not through force, not through effort, but through precision. Let me give you an image. Imagine you're holding a garden hose. If the nozzle is open wide and water is spraying everywhere, you might get wet, but you won't reach very far. Now imagine you tighten that stream, same water. But now it's concentrated. Now it has direction. Now it has force. That's what happens to your energy field when you become coherent. When your mind stops jumping from fear to doubt to distraction. When your breath slows. When your emotions stop swirling in reaction to every headline or memory or regret, your signal tightens. It sharpens. And the world begins to respond. This isn't theory. This is physics. The double-slit experiment in quantum mechanics showed us that particles behave differently when observed. Not when touched. When observed. That's consciousness affecting matter. And if a scientist in a lab can influence particles with focused awareness, what makes you think you can't influence your own life the same way? The answer is, you can. But you must practice. You must become the kind of man who no longer sees his inner world as a side note, but as the origin of every outcome. Thoth didn't teach people to manifest cars and houses and fame. He taught people how to master themselves. He taught that energy responds not to words but to vibration. So if you're thinking, I want peace, but feeling fear, and breathing in a shallow panic, your signal is scrambled. Your field is confused, and nothing moves. But if you sit still, breathe deep, focus your thought, and embody the feeling as if what you want is already true, your field begins to shift. Subtle at first, then louder. And yes, this takes discipline. But think about all the years you've disciplined yourself for others, for bosses, for family, for a system that didn't always serve you. Isn't it time you offered that same commitment to yourself? Here's a tool, simple, but powerful. It's called the triangle practice. Picture a triangle. At one point is breath. At another, thought. At the third, emotion. Each day, pick one clear intention, something real. Not, I want to be rich, but, I am open to peace. Or, I am strong in my body. Or, I move with purpose. Then breathe into it. 10 minutes. Inhale 4 seconds. Hold 4 seconds. Exhale 4 seconds. Hold again. Keep the breath steady. Now think the thought with clarity. And then feel the emotion that matches it. Not fake emotion, but real, even if it's just a flicker. That triangle of energy creates a coherent signal. And when done consistently, it begins to override the noise you've carried for decades. You may start to notice little things. Your body feels less heavy. People treat you differently. Random events begin to line up. You stop reacting to things that used to knock you off center. And no, this doesn't make life perfect. But it does give you back the one thing the world tried to take: your sovereignty. Your ability to choose your state. To choose your frequency. To become the signal instead of reacting to the static. You've earned the right to know this. Not because you're old, but because you're awake. Because somewhere in your bones, you remember what it felt like to live in tune with something deeper. And you're ready to live that way again, not for applause. Not for anyone else's approval. But because something in you has stirred. And it won't go back to sleep. You don't need to chant in ancient languages or build a shrine. You don't need to buy anything or join anything. You just need to show up for yourself. Every day. In silence. With breath. With clarity. With the kind of presence that bends reality without ever raising a hand. This is what the old ones knew. This is what they tried to keep hidden, not because it was dangerous, but because it made people free. And free people are hard to manage. They think differently. They feel deeply. They stand tall without needing to fight. They lead without needing followers. They love without fear. That's the kind of man you were always meant to be. Not a relic of the past, but a bridge to something ancient and something coming. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time. And now is the moment to remember. To realign. And to rise. You've come this far. And maybe that surprises you. Maybe a year ago, or even a month ago, you wouldn't have believed that something so quiet, so subtle, could stir something so real inside you. But here you are, not just reading words on a screen, but remembering something deeper. You're not chasing theories anymore. You're feeling something shift, not in the world outside, but inside your breath, your thoughts, the way your chest rises and falls. And that's where the real journey begins. Because knowing that you are energy, that you transmit and receive every second, is only the beginning. The question now is, what do you do with it? Let me tell you a hard truth they don't teach in schools or sermons or newsrooms. The world you see around you is not the world as it is. It's the world as you've been taught to perceive it. And every perception you carry, every expectation you've clung to, every belief you've swallowed without question has shaped your reality like clay. If you were taught to see limitation, you lived within boundaries. If you were taught to mistrust yourself, you second-guessed every impulse. If you were trained to numb your feelings, you mistook apathy for peace. But if you were to change the way you perceive, not by force, but by presence, you would start to see the cracks in the illusion. You would begin to recognize that life doesn't just happen to you. You happen to it. That's the essence of what Thoth taught. He didn't give people spells to control others. He gave them a mirror. He showed them how to clear the fog from their mind and become deliberate senders of signal, not passengers on someone else's ship. And now it's your turn. Not to become someone else, but to become who you were before the noise, before the fear, before the doubts that crept in through years of being told to stay small. Because the truth is, your body never forgot, your breath never forgot, the field around you never stopped responding. You just stopped speaking its language. So let's remember, let's go beyond meditation, beyond breathwork, beyond intention. All of those are entry points, not destinations. The real destination is coherence in motion. It's not about sitting in a perfect lotus pose on a mountaintop. It's about walking through your ordinary life, your kitchen, your backyard, the grocery store, and doing it with a steady, unshakable awareness that everything you think, feel, and do is broadcasting. It's not performance, it's presence. When you enter a room, you carry your frequency with you. People feel it before you speak. Animals respond to it. Children notice it instantly. You've seen this. You've lived it. Now it's time to own it. That means choosing, every day, to align your inner state before you interact with the outer world. Don't rush into the day carrying the residue of yesterday's confusion. Begin by tuning. Sit with yourself. Close your eyes. Feel your body. Ask, what am I broadcasting right now? Not in judgment, but in curiosity. Is it tension? Is it fear? Is it peace? Whatever it is, name it, own it, and then begin to shift, not by fighting it, but by introducing a new vibration. You do that by breathing in the state you want. If it's calm, breathe calm, not just in mind, but in chest, in spine, in hands. Let the breath teach your body what calm feels like. Then think a thought that matches it. I am safe. I am steady. I am guided. Then bring in the emotion, not as a fake smile, but as a remembering. When was the last time you felt deep peace? Let it come back. Let your body remember. That's alignment. That's you becoming a clear signal. And when you do that, you don't have to control people. You don't have to beg for outcomes. You become the magnet. People will start saying things like, I don't know what it is about you, but I feel good around you. That's not ego. That's evidence. That's resonance. You've become the tuning fork. And when you walk through the world in that state, reality begins to shift, not with explosions, but with ripples. You'll make decisions more clearly. You'll speak with more weight. You'll feel guided, not by some voice in the sky, but by your own inner signal, which finally isn't buried under noise. But here's the part that will test you. The world around you hasn't caught up yet. It's still trying to pull you back into the trance. The news wants your fear. The system wants your obedience. The algorithms want your distraction. Every time you align, something will try to scatter you. That's not failure. That's the test. And it's also the training. Because the more you return to alignment, not once, not twice, but daily, the stronger your signal becomes. Like muscles that grow with repetition, your field becomes harder to shake. And let's talk about your age for a moment. You've been taught that aging is decline, that it's about losing energy, losing sharpness, losing value. But what if that's another illusion? What if aging isn't decline, but refinement? What if you're not running out of time? You're running out of distractions. What if your body is slower so your awareness can finally speed up? You're not weaker. You're wiser. And that wisdom has weight. That presence has gravity. That's the kind of man the world needs right now, not louder men. Not angrier men, but coherent ones. Men who see clearly, feel deeply, speak with intention, and move like still water, calm on the surface, powerful beneath. So what does this look like in your life? It looks like fewer reactions, more responses. It looks like turning off the noise to hear your own knowing. It looks like walking away from arguments that cost too much energy and standing firm in the kind of silence that commands respect without needing attention. It looks like forgiving, not because someone deserves it, but because you deserve peace. It looks like saying no to what drains you, and yes to what feeds your signal. That might mean changing your morning routine. No more waking up and jumping into chaos. It means beginning the day in stillness. 5 minutes. 10. Just you, your breath, and your awareness. It might mean being more deliberate with your words. Every time you speak, you are casting a vibration into the field. Are your words aligned with your intention? Or are they echoes of old fear? Old frustration? It might mean moving differently. Not rushing, not dragging, but walking as if your feet are remembering the ground is listening. And yes, it might mean losing people. When your frequency shifts, some relationships can't follow. That's not a failure. That's alignment. Let them go with grace. And when new people appear, people who feel familiar in a way you can't explain, welcome them. They are mirrors, allies, signals that you're on the path. And when the doubt comes, and it will, when the voice says, "This is silly," or "You're too old," or "Nothing's really changing," I want you to pause, breathe, and remember that those thoughts are echoes of a program you didn't choose. You inherited it, you were trained into it, but you don't have to keep carrying it. You are the frequency now. You are the field. You are the technique. This isn't about enlightenment. It's about embodiment. It's about living your ordinary life in an extraordinary way, not by doing more, but by being more present, more aligned, more deliberate. The world may never understand it, but your body will, your breath will, and the field around you will never be the same again. So here's how we end. Or rather, how we begin again, not with a bang, but with a breath. You inhale, you feel your feet on the floor. You place your hand on your heart. You speak a truth, softly. I remember. That's all. That's enough. Because in that moment, you're not just a man reacting to the world. You are a man creating it. One breath, one thought, one feeling at a time. That is the path. That is the power. And it has always been yours.